Deadman Mode, the best thing to happen to RuneScape ever since EOC. Haha, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Deadman 2019 Summer Finale. Now, as you may know, this is the last Deadman in its current format.
Deadman Mode is really the best game mode to ever happen in RuneScape. I've never had as much fun in old school RuneScape as when I have played the Deadman Mode Tournament. Everybody starts on a brand new level 3 account, which you venture around the world of Gillinor and start training it to be as strong as possible. Deadman Mode combines every aspect of old school RuneScape: skilling, PVMing, Pking, and obviously the most important aspect of all, Fashionscape. Deadman Mode is not just for your average player. It involves the entire game. The fact that you start on a level 3 account in a world where you can attack other players or be attacked brings an incompatible adrenaline level to any aspect found in old school RuneScape. Anything you do in Deadman Mode involves a lot more excitement. You must constantly be thinking about how to get an advantage, how not to get PK'd, or how to get the next upgrade. All of this makes you enjoy the game we all fell in love as kids back in the 2000s a lot more, bringing that sense of unknown and new experiences that we now so nostalgically desire. I am Weatherguru, and after having played all 15 Deadman Mode tournaments, I present to you the ultimate, most in-depth guide to the Deadman Mode tournament. Many people's understanding of Deadman Mode can still be the same of when Deadman Mode got released back in 2016, especially after watching videos such as these, which, by the way, I still recommend you watching as extremely fun. Back then you had to brush quests like Monkey Madness out of the way, and in general, even though it was already extremely fun to play, the game was more tedious on your average player. This guide will prepare you for the new version of the Deadman Mode Tournament, a month-long combination of the previous Deadman Mode seasonal and tournament. As this guide will be long, and there are both veterans and new Deadman Mode players watching, feel free to skip to the specific part you came here for. You can also find the timestamps in the description. This guide is split into sections. For the people who want to play the game mode, and the other section for the players interested in making money and swapping. However, I really recommend watching the entire guide, as I'll be mentioning little tips and tricks throughout the guide that you may have previously unheard of, or that are beneficial for any route you take. Introduction to Deadman Mode. So, first of all, where are you safe? Deadman Mode works in such a way that a vast portion of the area is dangerous, meaning you can get attacked by other players. Just like PvP worlds, however, some of the areas, which are in most cases banks, are safe. There are Deadman Mode guards protecting these safe areas, which will instantly kill any skilled player who enters these safe areas. More of this will be explored in the death mechanics section of this guide. Here you can see the current dangerous and safe areas on the world map. During the first 30 minutes of gameplay, you won't be attacked anywhere and will be protected. Dangerous zones have 15 times combat experience, and 10 times non-combat experience. Safe zones have 10 times combat experience and 10 times non-combat experience, meaning it's better to train combat skills in dangerous areas. Death mechanics. Throughout the course of the years that Deadman Mode has been present, death mechanics have constantly changed. Let's split this into two sections: NPC related deaths and player related deaths. Dying to an NPC, aka a PVM death, has the same result as a death in normal old school RuneScape worlds to an NPC. You will lose no XP and keep your 3 most valued items. You will have 60 minutes to return to your death point to retrieve your items. However, if you're Scald, you will lose 10 most valuable stacks of items in your bank, along with all equipped items and items within your inventory. Dying to an NPC while Scald makes you lose 50% of all your experience in any unprotected skill. This avoids you from suiciding to an NPC in order not to die to another player. What do I mean by protected stats? Protected stats consist of 2 combat skills and 3 non-combat skills, which you will not lose experience in upon death while being Scald. They also minimize the amount of experience loss if you have several bankies in your inventory, which will be further explained in the next section of the guide. Dying to guards in safe areas will make you lose 10% of your protected skills. However, for any experience lost, you'll have 50 times experience boost until you have rebuilt your skills. This makes it easy to rebuild after a death, which should motivate you to continue playing. Dying to a player, aka a PvP death, makes you lose the 10 most valuable stacks of items from your bank, along with all equipped items and items within your inventory. The player who killed you will gain access to these items in the form of a banky. If you're Scald, you will lose experience. The exact amount is based on the combat level of the player that kills you. If you're not Scald, then you won't lose any experience. Please watch the section on muling in order to minimize potential losses on death. Just a notice, If a player does damage to, and then you die to an NPC, it will count as a PvP death. Sculling. So, how do you skull up? Sculling up means that you have attacked another player. Your skull lasts a certain amount of time. This is determined by, number 1, if you attack another player who's not skulled and is of similar combat level, meaning no lower than 30 combat levels less than your account, you will obtain a 50-minute timer. If you attack a player who's not skulled and is not within 30 combat levels from your combat level, you will obtain a 30-minute timer. This cap only works on the lower combats, meaning you will still be able to attack a player 30 combat levels higher than you without a skull. You will only have a 15-minute skull if this happens. If you attack another skulled player, you'll only get a 5-minute timer. This timer goes down while your character's in movement, meaning you can't try to tank the time while standing in one place. Just moving one tile every 30 seconds counts as movement. Qualifying. What is the main point of this 4-week tournament, and how is there a winner? The winner of the Deadman Mode Tournament is the winner of the final hour, which will be further discussed in the guide. To reach this final hour, your account must be in the top 2000 total level of the DMM world. This is similar to how you'd qualify from Deadman Mode Seasonals to Tournament, but instead of qualifying a whole separate week, your account will be invited to the final permadeath stage. During this stage, you can use all the items and skills you've acquired throughout the 4 weeks tournament, which leads us to the next topic. The final hour, the most anticipated part of the Deadman Mode Tournament, and it's the closest thing RuneScape will ever have to becoming an esport. This is where hundreds of thousands of viewers tune in and watch everybody fight. The final hour consists of 2,000 players being slowly moved into a final area. A message will appear on your screen, letting you know if you should continue moving or if the place you're currently in is safe. A deadly fog will slowly close into the final area, making everyone have to get there or be killed. There are 2 final areas, Anakol and Falador. Each player will be randomly assigned one of the 2 final areas. These are multi-combat, meaning everyone versus everyone. This is where the importance of clans comes into play, which will be discussed at the end of the guide. Everyone will war in these 2 final areas until 256 players remain alive, being 128 from each area. These 256 players will then be transported into a 1v1 stage, where they'll have access to a bank to resupply and get ready to show their Pking skills. You will have to fight a random opponent. Once you beat them, you can loot the gear and improve your setup. As only one of the 2 opponents can win the fight, the number of players remaining will be halving. From 256 players, it will be 128, then 64, then 32, then 16, 8, 4, 2, and finally 1, which will become the Deadman Mode Tournament winner. Supply chests will spawn during the permadeath stage. Within these chests, there will be a Carol's Top and Aram's Top, a Carol's Skirt and Aram's Skirt, Seer's Ring and Archer's Ring, both imbued, Amulet of Fury and Infernal Cape, a Charged Dragonfire Shield, and finally, a Varric Skirt and Abyssal Whip. Completed quests. As previously mentioned, we're no longer in 2016 where you had to do all the quests every single Deadman Mode tournament in season. The following list of quests is auto-completed. However, there's still a couple of quests that many players choose to do. These are the Piety questline and the Desert Treasure / Lunar Diplomacy questline. This depends on if you're choosing to go Avenging or NHing in the final hour. Many opt not to do these quests, as the main goal of these quests is to improve their account for the 1v1s, something which not everybody's interested in. The Colomancer chest items will be available since day 1 without having to complete Recipe for Disaster. This is found in the Lumbridge Cellar. PvP weapons. Something that is unique to Deadman Mode is the incorporation of PvP weapons. These are the Stadius Warhammer, Morrigan Javelins, Morrigan Throne Axes, the Vesta Longsword, and the Zuriel Staff. These also exist in the Last Man Standing minigame, and recently a similar counterpart of the Vesta Longsword has been added to the Bounty Hunter worlds. These are the most powerful items in Deadman Mode and can only be obtained by killing an NPC in the wilderness. Every NPC in the wilderness except the Lava Dragons, as they're disabled, and the Revenants can drop these items. However, NPCs closest to 100 combat level are the most likely to drop these items. The following chart shows this. Emblems. The Deadman Mode Tournament has an emblem system, which uses archaic emblems. These emblems can be given into the emblem trader found in Edgeville for some sought after rewards. There are 2 types of emblems which you can obtain in the Deadman Mode Tournament. The Tier 5 emblem, which can be dropped by any NPC over 100 combat level anywhere in RuneScape, and the Tier 1 emblem, which are dropped by Wilderness Slayer tasks, these being 1.5 million and 100 points respectively. For more information on the emblem shop, its content, and the prices, please find the link in the description. Raids. The newest incorporation to the Deadman Mode Tournament is the Chambers of Xeric and the Theatre of Blood. Both of these bring a new set of best-in-slot items for Deadman Mode, which, like the PvP weapons, will be highly demanded. Almost all items from the Chambers of Xeric will be extremely valuable. The Din's bulwark has been disabled, however. Likewise, the Theatre of Blood also brings extremely sought-after rewards. Drop table. Killing an NPC will give you the chance of landing on a special Deadman Mode loot table that contains highly sought-after supplies like potions, food, Herblore supplies, and runes. The chance is determined by the combat level of the NPC. Bosses have an increased chance of hitting this table, and the superior Slayer creature have a guaranteed chance. The Barrows brothers will be more likely to drop additional loots, specifically supplies like brews, restores, super combats, ranging potions, and Herblore supplies. So make sure to check if the Barrows brother has dropped anything before leaving the room. Dragons drop double the amount of bones. NPCs drop double the amount of noted herb drops. The Chime Mold drops double the claws and hides, and the Tome of Fire drop rate has increased by 10, with double the burn page reward amount. Most importantly, the following drops are now dropped much more frequently. Double loot days. Finally, one of the major additions to this Deadman Mode tournament is the double loot reward days. Feel free to pause the video to save these dates. General tips and tricks. Whether you have decided to play this for enjoyment or to make profit to swap, these next tips will be helpful. Tip number 1. You have unlocked the Spirit Tree, which can be a viable method of moving around the game, especially in the early stages when teleports are scarce. Tip number 2. You have full favor in all 5 houses in Xer. Therefore, you can access many features like using the Arceus spellbook. I really recommend having player attack options on right click or off at all times you're not PKing. You do not want to accidentally skull up. Finally, make sure you give in any emblems to the emblem trader. This will help you rebuild as you do not lose emblem reward points upon death, so you can always buy stuff back from the shop in case you die. How to escape Pkers. There are several relying ways you can use to attempt to escape Pkers. The first one is to use ladders, stairs, and dungeon entrances. By going up and down them, you can increase the time that the PK is not hitting you. This involves predicting and fast reactions, but you can get out of combat for the specific amount of time required to be able to teleport out. However, if there are several PKs, make sure you have the last hit on the PK so the other one can't hit you. Furthermore, you can also freeze your opponent using entangles or ice spells, and quickly move to a tile where the PK can't hit you. This once again increases the time that you're not being attacked and allowing you to teleport. Likewise, if there are multiple PKs, make sure you get the last hit before you try to escape. Another method you can use to escape a PK is to run around an area with NPCs that aggro the PK off you. You can also box NPCs, but never other players, as you'll get disqualified for this. Even though these methods can make you escape a PK, it is always better to prevent getting attacked in the first place. Having your mouse over the teleport spell or teleport tablet whenever you go into a new location is extremely important. This way, whenever you see a white dot in a dangerous area, you can quickly teleport away before they attack you. Finally, there's nothing more important than carrying enough food to tank a PK in your inventory at all times. If you do not have food in your inventory, you will die. Protection prayers are also extremely important, so the faster you get those out of the way, the better. Guide for enjoyment. This part of the guide serves to get the most out of the Deadman Mode Tournament. It will provide you several different thought out routes you can choose to take, or even try to combine some of them. 1. How to have a good start. First of all, a good start in the Deadman Mode Tournament is paramount in order to not fall into a loop of staying behind everyone. I'll present 3 different options you can choose from to start, giving you the pros and cons of each. These routes are the Wilderness Slayer route, the Melee Slayer route, and the Quest Rush. Before you do any of these routes, however, it is important you follow this introductory route that all 3 routes implement at the beginning. Before the Deadman Mode Tournament begins, you must set up an authenticator to your account. You should have this option on anyways, as it also protects your account from any hijackers. However, that is not the reason it's necessary in Deadman Mode. As soon as the Deadman Mode Tournament opens, you do not complete the tutorial island. Instead, you talk to Skippy, and tell him you're an experienced player and ask him to send you to mainland. Select to be teleported to Varrock. You then head west, and quickly use the Varrock West Bank to deposit everything except the food. This is done to minimize your weight and therefore to preserve your run energy. Make sure you keep the food as you get attacked on the lower levels of the Stronghold of Security. You then head to the Stronghold of Security. Do not use all the run energy, as it's beneficial to use it in the lower floors. I'll let you decide how to manage your run energy. This is where you need to have activated your authenticator, as you will not be able to receive the rewards unless it's enabled. The reward increment should go from 2k to 5k, and finally you will have 10k. Do not go for the rainbow boots, no matter how sexy they are. Once you have the 10k, teleport to Lumbridge. If you're doing the melee route, first go back upstairs and buy a Mithril Fulham in the helmet shop. In Lumbridge, walk to the combat tutors and ask for a starter pack. Also, now that you're at it, make sure you enable the arrow and rune feature, in which arrows will go to your quiver upon picking up and runes will enter your rune pouch. Now that you have this, enter the Lumbridge castle and speak to the Duke, asking for a new anti-fire shield. Walk back out of the castle to the graveyard south of the church and find Nigel. Use him to teleport you to the gnome stronghold and quickly get 30 agility out of the way. You only need 20 agility if you're going the melee route. Then once again use the spirit tree, this time to the tree gnome village, and speak to King Bolrun for a new gnome amulet. This will be your best in slot amulet for quite a while, as it provides some decent defense bonuses, something which not many players know of. Now use the tree back to the Grand Exchange and walk to the Varrock Museum. This saves you some Slayer levels and most importantly, avoids you having to use the Slayer Master Berthope for your first Slayer task. Complete the museum quiz. I really recommend using RuneLite as it highlights the correct answers for you, making it only a couple of minutes. Route number 1, the Wilderness Slayer Range Route. This is the most recommended route for any player, no matter if you're new or experienced, as it's easy to follow and brings great results. Now that you have done the museum quiz, head south to the ranging shop and buy a Dorgeshan crossbow and 4 pack of bolts. In the armor shop just above, buy a studded body. Now you go back to your bank and pick up your starter bow and tuner. Finally, just head south to the Champions Guild. Go upstairs and buy a coif and a pair of green d'hide chaps. Once this is done, you should still have some coins remaining. Keep them for later, as you'll have to buy an Avis accumulator and rune gloves at some point. Now you should train at a low level NPC with the starter bow. Cows, chickens, men, frogs, goblins, rats, any of these are good options. Some will be very packed, so feel free to change between them. Or find your own low-level combat NPC. A good option is the man/woman in the pub by the sawmill operator. This will give you some quick range, defense and hit point levels, making it harder for you to be killed. You can choose to bury the bones while doing this to spend less time fighting for dragon spots later in the game. At 28 range, you can equip your Dorgeshan crossbow and bolt to increase experience. Do this until you're level 20 defense and 40 range, varying from long range and rapid. Once this is done, head over to Crystalia and get a Wilderness Slayer task. Make sure she gives you a task specific to your combat level, as getting a task like Black Demons could really set you back. Doing Wilderness Slayer gives decent experience per hour and is very profitable, as there's the DMM drop table plus the emblems. Finally, you'll have to get protection prayers. Green dragons in the wilderness, even though they'll be full of other players, are a quick and easy source of dragon bones, especially now that they drop double the bones. There are many green dragon spots in the wilderness. I recommend you watching the prayer section of this guide to maximize efficiency. The melee grind. This route, even though simple, is not that easy to take as it requires more GP to start with. However, it is the route that progresses the count the quickest. This route is commonly seen taken by content creators such as Mika and Rank 1 Slay. The reason this route is costly is because you need to be able to afford a dragon scimitar pretty early on the game. This might not be a problem for many of you, now that swapping is allowed by Jagex. If so, it's an incredibly viable route to take. Now that you have completed the Varrock Museum quiz, walk down to the Varrock East Bank and take out your starter sword and tuner. Go to the armor shop and buy yourself a mithril plate body. Now head to the Alcarid plate leg shop to buy yourself some mithril plate legs. You should now have a full mithril set and a starter sword. While you're at Alcarid, use the Alcarid agility cores to get 30 agility out of the way. You should now train at low level combat NPCs with the starter sword. Cows, chickens, men, frog, goblins, rats, etc. Any of these are good options. Some will be very packed, so feel free to change between them. A good option is the men and women in the pub by the sawmill operator. However, as it's a longer grind, feel free to find a more secret area. While training, make sure you bury the bones the NPC drops. You should get 20 defense out of the way quickly, as it will allow you to wear the mithril armor and be tankier. Train with a starter sword until 60 attack, prioritizing attack over strength. You should get something like 60 attack, 45 strength, and 20 defense. This unlocks the dragon scimitar quicker, which you'll use to get 65 attack and 65 strength. As soon as you have the money, buy yourself some rune gloves for K. PS, if money really isn't an issue for you from the start, you can buy an adamant sword in the Varrock sword shop, or a cleaver in the Colomancer chest. It's identical to rune scimitar. With 65 attack and strength, and at least 43 prayer, head to the Edgeville Monastery top floor and get yourself a pair of monk robes. You're now ready for the Dragon Defender grind. A tip is to buy food from the Cook in the Warriors Guild, especially the potato with cheese, as they're sold for 9 GP each and heal 16 HP. Use the mithril armor to get tokens. Prayer potions will be expensive, so flicking prayers is a good skill to learn. Wear monk robes to have prayer last longer. The defender grind shouldn't take long, as the defender drop rate has been massively increased to 1 out of 25 kills. This defender grind should set you up ready to do Slayer, which will set you off perfectly into the Deadman Mode Tournament. Rushing quests. Personally, I recommend this route the least, especially if you haven't done it before. During the first day of the Deadman Mode Tournament, there will be a lack of quest related items sold, and most of them you'll have to grind yourself. Furthermore, staminas will be extremely costly and limited during the first day, which will make you have to walk most of the time. As you will now have an entire month to do the quest, the rush to get them out of the way is not necessary. I recommend this route to people who want to be peaking in Ancients very early on in the game. On the other hand, this route can be very viable, as during the first hours, a couple of hit points and defense levels will suffice to tank any PKs. It's also during these hours that there will be no PKs with Ancients that can slow your questing down. This route, even though it will not get your account trained up nor rich, can put you in an advantage over the rest of the players, as you will have quest restricted content unlocked beforehand that you can use to your advantage, such as being the first to PK with Ancients. I'd recommend training your stats out first and then doing the quest route. Some of the quests people tend to rush is Desert Treasure and Piety. These quests have a lot of skill level requirements, which takes time to do and can make your account less powerful compared to a player who trained their combat stats during that whole time. Training Prayer. Even though experience is multiplied by 10 and 15 in the Deadman Mode Tournament worlds and drag and drop double the amount of bones, it is still not the best idea to bury them for prayer experience. The Chaos Altar is disabled, so it leaves us with two options, the Ectofuntus and the Gilded Altar. Gilded Altars require a high construction level and are not viable for the majority of players to own. Some players offer Gilded Altar services, which even though are costly, are very efficient. However, using the Ectofuntus in Portfest Matters is an extremely viable way of training your prayer. All you need is bones, pots, and buckets of slime. Both the pots and buckets of slime can be bought from the charter crew members for very cheap. It is a very simple process, but if you have never done Ectofuntus before, I recommend watching a guide on it. The menu entry swapper plugin in RuneLite really allows you to speed up this process. Do not wait for your inventory to automatically be grinded from bones to bone meal, as it's a lot slower than doing it manually. Post-game, what do you expect to do after this hectic start? Well, this is where your Deadman Mode experience gets interesting and contrasts from others. The following list is a good example of stuff you might want to do during the tourney. You can train combat stats, do Slayer, do Barrows, PVM bosses, do raids, do Wilderness Slayer for PvP weapons, merge, PK, get into the top 2k total level, you can quest, or even you can do stuff that I haven't thought of. It's literally the hold of old school RuneScape in your hands. I really recommend watching some recent Deadman Mode Tournament videos, meaning 2018 onwards. Content creators like Solo Mission, Sea Engineer, Sylvester, Sparkmac, and many more have done great videos on their progress in Deadman Mode tournaments. The final aspect I'd like to explore before moving into the money-making side of this guide is muling. For the first time in the course of Deadman Mode tournaments, Jaggers has allowed players to have mules. A mule is a separate account that stays in the safe zone and holds the majority of your bank. This makes players not have to risk their entire bank when they leave the safe zone, only having to take the items they specifically need for the occasion. This was done in order for solo players to be able to keep up with bigger clans and content creators. Either if you come to Deadman Mode to play or to make GP, a mule is a necessity. You should 100% have at least 2 accounts playing this Deadman Mode tournament. Your second account doesn't need to have old school RuneScape stats or anything. It can be a newly made level 3 account that you made and bundled up for this tournament. Personally, I'll be playing with 3 accounts, a main, a Wilderness Slayer account, and a mule. This moves us to the next section of the guide. Making GP to swap. I'm aware that a lot of you do not have any interest in playing the Deadman Mode tournament properly, and as much as I wish you did, because it's the best thing that happened to RuneScape, I cannot enforce it upon you. However, what I can at least do is show you how to make the most money possible and swap it, which is what a lot of you will be playing the Deadman Mode tournament for. I'm going to split this section into parts. First of all, short-term players. If your goal is to make quick money by just playing a couple of hours the first day, the best thing you can do is the Agility Pyramid. Watch the beginning of how to have a good start and follow the same steps until you have 10k. Instead of teleporting to Lumbridge at that step, go up the stairs and walk to the Grand Exchange. Use the Spirit Tree to the Gnome Stronghold and get 30 Agility. Use the Spirit Tree back to the Grand Exchange and head to the Varrock Agility course. Train here until you get 50 Agility. Then, go to the Archery shop and buy a Dorgishan crossbow and bolts. Trade all the leftover GP to a mule, which you can use to swap, except for 1k. You need to have at least 1k in your inventory. If you do not have a second account, no worries, just leave the GP in your inventory. Teleport to Lumbridge, walk to the combat tutors and ask for a starter pack. While you're at it, set your ammo and runes to go into your quiver rune pouch upon pickup. Train your range with a starter bow and goblins until you're 28 range to equip the Dorgishan crossbow. Go to Alcarid Bank, bank everything except your GP, your Dorgishan crossbow, your bolts, and tuner. Head to the Shanty Pass, buy some desert robes and boots, water skins and the pass. Use the carpet to Nada and walk to the Agility Pyramid. Feel free to use your map to get there. The Agility Pyramid gets you 10k every lap you do. You must make sure you pick up the pyramid tops before you go down. Give these tops to Simon Templeton for 10k GP each. If you die, you'll lose these. However, it is very easy to escape Pkers here by going backwards into an obstacle. Once you have enough agility tops, hand them into Simon and teleport to Lumbridge. Here you should either trade the GP to a mule, or if you don't have a mule, try to swap the GP for a 7 straight away. Skilling. There are several skills which are profitable in Deadman mode. These are Fletching, Crafting, Herblore, Hunter and Fishing. Fletching. The first person to be able to make and sell magic shortbows makes a lot of money. They will be highly demanded. A fast and AFK way of getting Fletching up in the first day of the Deadman Mode Tournament is by chopping logs and cutting them into longbows. Fletching will always be needed, especially when runite limbs will enter the market and people will need rune crossbows. Crafting. First to get to make blue, red and black D-hide sets also has immense profit levels. Amulets, necklaces and rings are also extremely high in demand. The main advantage of crafting is that you can train it in safe zones, meaning there's no risk. A fast way to train up crafting is to teleport to Lumbridge once you get the 10k. Walk to Father Ernie and ask for a new Ghost Peak amulet. Then walk to Port Rim and take a boat to Portfest Matters. You should buy a glass blowing pipe and use your 10k on buckets of sand and soda ash. Do this until 60 crafting. After this, you can start making green hide chaps and continue making hide pieces of all colors. You will be able to buy hides for very cheap in the GE and profit on each set you make. Herblore. Herblore used to be a lot more profitable back in the day as potions were not dropped by NPCs, nor were they sold by the Emblem trader. However, it is still very profitable. A lot of people will receive Herblore supply drops and will sell them in the G for very cheap. You only need 38 Herblore to make the highly demanded prayer potions, which takes very little time to get with experience boost rates. Druidic Ritual is already completed for you. Hunter. Chins are constantly needed throughout the Deadman Mode Tournament. They're used for wars and training. I recommend doing the Varrock Museum quiz at the start of the tournament after getting the 10k. This will get you 9 hunts in a matter of minutes. Make sure you're using Runelight as it highlights the correct answers. 63 Hunter takes little time to get and hunting red chins is very profitable. However, Pkers will check the spot often, so make sure you train up your range and defense before starting the grind. You can even PK other chin hunters around you for their chins and to decrease your competition. Finally, fishing. Fishing comes hand in hand with cooking. Even though you need a high level to have big profits like in the other skill, it is extremely AFK and you'll still profit for lower tier fish, such as lobsters. Since the current favor is unlocked, you can cook in the Hosidious kitchen. Cooking sharks, manta rays, cranboans and anglerfish brings a lot of GP. If you want to do fishing and cooking long term over the tournament, I recommend getting the cooking gauntlets. PVMing. PVMing is a highly profitable long-term method for the Deadman Mode Tournament. To be able to PVM, you must have some combat skills. Before watching the PVM money-making methods, I recommend watching the Melee and the Wilderness Slayer route in the first section of the guide. I recommend following one of these routes. There are many good PVM money-making methods, such as Barrows, Slayer, Wilderness Slayer, Bossing, and Raids. Barrows is profitable and easy to do. There are many great guides out there. I have linked a good Barrows guide in the description. The Slayer staff or Iban staff are good mage staffs to use for Barrows. There are many PKs at Barrows, including myself, so make sure you have a teleport out and have decent magic defense in order to not get frozen by PKs. And Black D-Hide set offers good defense. Watch the How to Escape Pkers part of the guide for additional information. You can escape Pkers by using a spade in any hill and get aggro from a Barrows brother. Or even better, find your crypt. You can find a spade in the top floor of the Varrock General Store. It's safe obtaining it this way than picking the one at Barrows, as you can get attacked in Barrows. Slayer. Training up Slayer is a viable money-making method as it unlocks content such as Abyssal Demons, Necreals, Gargoyles, the Kraken, and more. Once you have a high Slayer level, you can camp these NPCs for a lot of money. Wilderness Slayer. The Wilderness Slayer, or just camping the wilderness alone, can be very profitable, especially if you obtain a PvP weapon. Feel free to watch the introduction part for more information on this. Bossing. God Wars, KBD, Rune Dragons, and more bosses drop high demanded items which can be swapped for a lot of 07 GP. Watch Drop Table Boss in the Introduction to DMM section, as it shows which drops by some of these bosses have been made more common. Raids. Both the Chambers of Zarek and the Theatre of Blood will be extremely profitable if done correctly. Also, while doing raids, you cannot get attacked by PKs, which makes it one of the best money makers in the game. I speak more about raids in the introductory section of the guide. Swapping. Now that you have your money or items ready to swap, what's next? Well, you need to find someone that wants to buy it. Swapping clans. The Deadman Mode Tournament will be filled with swapping clans. These clans focus on flipping the currencies. They buy your Deadman Mode GP for a lower value and sell DMM GP for a higher price than they buy it for. There are a lot of legit swapping clans, as they make huge profits, but even so, you must still be careful as there are fake swapping clans too. In order to not lose money, there are 3 things you must make sure to check prior to swapping with a clan. The first thing is making sure the clan is legit. You can check this by seeing if they have a lot of members and you can actively see them swapping. 2. Check the rates are fair. Many swapping clans will take advantage of players, buy for too cheap and sell for too high. If their buy-sell margins are extremely high, you might not be best selling to them. Also, if their rates seem too good to be true, it probably is. Swap in small amounts / increments. I really do not recommend anyone swapping the entire cash stack in one go. Instead, swapping it into smaller parts avoids you potentially getting scammed. If they're not legit and scam you, they have only scammed you for, let's say, 20k instead of 500k. If you can, never go first. This is the best way to avoid getting scammed. The other way of swapping is swapping with players. Swapping with players is somewhat riskier, especially if you do not know the player you're selling to. However, you can sell for a lot better rate and make much more from your Deadman Mode GP. Not going first and using the increment method will once again prevent you from getting scammed. The rate you should sell for should be slightly lower than what swapping clans sell for. Otherwise, the buyer will just decide to buy from the swapping clan instead. However, it should certainly be higher than the rate at which the swapping clan is buying for, because otherwise, you might as well just sell to the swapping clan. To make this as safe as possible, I'll leave a link to my Discord in the description. You can find other players who are buying and selling there. If you guys want to make the trade safe, just shoot me a DM and I can middleman for you. Now that I'm mentioning my Discord, if you ever need help with anything related to Deadman Mode, feel free to ask me there. I would be extremely happy to help the community and grow my favorite game mode. If I'm not on, just leave your question in the help channel and I'm sure someone will help you out. The first Deadman Mode experience can be a little overwhelming, so hopefully I can make it as enjoyable as possible for you. If you follow any of the routes mentioned, you're guaranteed to do well in the tournament. After all, the main priority for you is to have fun. Do not stress over it even if you die. That's just part of the game, and honestly, with the 50 times experience rates after dying's gold and the money making methods mentioned above, devs do not really set you back that much. As this is a video game, there will be some toxic people that will flame you after they kill you, or people that would mad at you for not selling your GP for the price they asked for. I recommend just ignoring any toxic behavior and enjoy the game. This brings me to the final section of the guide. Solo versus clanning. As the Deadman Mode Tournament starts tomorrow, it'll be difficult to join a good clan. If you don't want to play solo, feel free to make a little group with a couple of friends. This is really the most fun way to play the Deadman Mode Tournament. Personally, I've played solo and in clans, and both options are extremely fun. Playing solo really brings an Iron Man feel to the game and drastically improves your game knowledge. However, the camaraderie feeling you get in clans is also extremely fun to play with. If you're playing solo, the permadeath stage will be slightly harder to do, but by no means impossible. All you have to do in the final hour is just try to run in under one clan. Being in a clan has many advantages, such as having players that can craft for you, sell your items for cheap, and most importantly, you'll have the numbers in the final hour war. If you're playing alone and do want to find more players to play with, once again feel free to join my Discord, linked in the description. You can meet other players there and have hopefully improves your gaming experience. As mentioned before, I'll try my best in helping you in the Discord with any questions relating to Deadman Mode you have. I'll also be making progression videos throughout the Deadman Mode Tournament, with a strong focus on Pking. Finally, I'll be streaming the Deadman Mode Tournament daily on Twitch, so feel free to say hi and ask me anything there. My Twitch channel is also linked in the description. Hopefully this guide has answered any doubts you have and you'll use it to make it the best out of this Deadman Mode Tournament. Thank you for watching and enjoy yourself.